Hello, and welcome to the Rant podcast. This is your host, Keith Green. I am here to bring to you my top 5 music list. Now, you may be wondering, how's the thing been going? I had 4 of them that came out, and then I went and did a redo of number 2. Well, this is what has been going on. I'm currently in the process of figuring out how many times a week I'm going to do this. So for the meantime, it's going to be 1 or 2 a week. And SoundCloud's got a time limit on it, or else I have to start forking out money currently right now. Too tight on funds. Once I have more funds, I'll be able to put more into the podcast. Good news is my audio equipment is now functioning, so I'm working on that. As you probably heard on the intro, I got the fade out going, so I'm learning as we go here. I'm learning more about audio equipment. I'm learning more about the program and the software. So as I'm going here, I'm learning and figuring things out, and then you will benefit on that end. But it's not going to be every day. I know I told some people I might try and do this every day, but it looks as if SoundCloud's going to monitor how much my time is going to be. Also, I'm going to look into getting on iTunes. I told you prior, I'm trying to get my name registered and everything. But until then, we're going to go after and look at my top 5s in all these different genres of music. And I even picked music I don't like country music on here. And I only do top 5 because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 10 genres currently on here. I'm not going to go into every little minute genre that there is, because that's just, it's going to be a little too much to get into all of it. I have 3 in the category of rock. I have 3 in the category of what you classify as hip-hop music. Well, I got 4 in the category of rock. Then I have country, classical, and jazz. So what I have here, and where I'll start, is, this is, just so you know, this is my opinion. This is nobody else's opinion. This is nothing off of a top 10 list. So I'm going to just start with my favorite genre and then go to my least favorite, kind of like what I did for the movies. Started off with my best, went to the worst, best, worst, best, worst. Now, I would normally, someone brought up to me even playing clips of different things. Now, I'm just getting started, so I don't understand all the copyright stuff when it comes to this. Even the music that I put on the play in, because I legally purchased that music, I can put it in there. But if I haven't legally purchased the music or don't have legal rights over it, can I actually use it in my podcast? I'm not sure. I think I could. But all the different bands and everybody that I have on here, I think it would be a little too much and a little too long of a podcast to give you a little soundbite of every music artist or band or solo act, whatever you want to call it, of all these. I'm going to give you the names of them, and if you like what I describe or what I talk about, then by all means, go back, listen to it, engage it. So, first thing I'm going to start off with is, sorry there, I had a minor glitch go on with my equipment. So, here we go. I'm just going to get into this because this is the ranting podcast, so if you don't get the music to it, that's just tough. So, hard rock. Hard rock is my favorite genre of music. I always go back to it. I'm always I just love the sound of it. And sometimes bands come in and out of my lists, but we're going to start off with Seven Dust. And like you heard in my first podcast, Seven Dust is at my top of all genres. Seven Dust is a band out of Georgia. They have put out 10 electric music albums and 2 acoustic albums, and they have 1 greatest hits album. So they're an established band. They haven't made it as high and as lofty as some. They've had a couple of gold albums, but they have a basic fundamental sound, and then they play around with it here and there as they go. But they got a fundamental sound that is great and is amazing. Number 2, and I'm going to say I'm going into number 2 this quickly because Breaking Benjamin is my number 2 also on my greatest hit, my greatest list. And Breaking Benjamin and Seven Dust will interchange 1 and 2 at times based on who comes out with an album. So really I put these 2 in similar categories. The only difference between Breaking Benjamin and Seven Dust is heavier. Breaking Benjamin can get heavy, but usually goes with lighter music at times throughout their album. But Breaking Benjamin and Seven Dust are my 2 favorite. I have all of their albums up to date, except for the Greatest Hits album of Breaking Benjamin. The Greatest Hits album was not authorized by Benjamin Bunley, the lead singer of Breaking Benjamin, and therefore didn't have all the tracks he wanted. It had a couple of released tracks that weren't acceptable, so scrap that. But yes, if you like hard rock and you like regular music, Seven Dust and Breaking Benjamin are good all-around bands. Number 3 I have on here is Stained, and I think I even had that on my top 3 list. Yeah, Stained is actually, so my first 3 in the hard rock category are all on the very first 3 on that particular list as well. Stained, Aaron Lewis is the lead singer. Aaron Lewis is now a country singer. And so we in the rock category mourn for the death of Stained because they are on an indefinite hiatus, which virtually means until, I don't know, the year 2020 or 2025, those guys aren't getting back together to do an album at all. I should mention, alright, I'm going to go back to number 1 because I should give you a couple of my favorite tracks from some of these, just so if you wanted to look them up. My favorite track from Seven Dust is Waffle, followed by Home, followed by Slay the Prey. I know that sounds, for all you older people that are kind of with the music, I know they sound kind of weird, and maybe even if you try and listen to it, it's going to sound a little weird. Something more for people who have a lighter taste of Seven Dust. Angel's Son would be really good. There's a song on the album Pieces, and I'll look that up real quick, and then I will get that to you at some point here in this podcast or at the end of it. Breaking Benjamin, favorite track is Polyamorous, followed by Simple Design, followed by Rain. And if for those that want a lighter sound with Breaking Benjamin, Rain, Ashes to Eden, or Ashes from Eden is another good one. And I think it's called Anthem of the Angels. And pretty much any of the track that has the word angel in it, because they have a track from each album that has angel in it. Those are all going to be softer songs. And really, especially with Breaking Benjamin's music, you have to start with track 1, listen the whole way through, because it's literally like a story being told. And then they got like this story about angels being weaved through each one of their tracks, or each one of their albums as well. So there's my favorite tracks for Breaking Benjamin. Stained. Their sound is really good. I do not actually know how many albums. I think it's 4 or 5 albums Stained has had. My favorite tracks from Stained is Mud Shovel, Zoe Jane, and Now. If you're looking for a lighter touch with them, Epiphany, and right here you're looking at Zoe Jane. I think it's Believe. So those are some names of songs for Stained if you're looking. And that's Stained as an Staind. Number 4 is Tool. For any older person, I doubt you're going to want to listen to Tool. Their sound just recently and quite a bit has really gotten, I really like the sound of it, and I like the lead singer's name. His name is Maynard. I don't remember his last name, but my favorite tracks from Tool would have to be 46 and 2, Schism, Sober. And if you're looking for a light track, you ain't gonna find it. That's just how it's going to be. I wouldn't call it metal. Some people are calling it metal. I wouldn't call it metal. I would call it hard rock. Because when I get into the metal songs or the metal groups, you're really going to find it. Tool has been around since the late 80s. And they got started in California. And they have been around for quite a while. And even Tool's lead singer stepped off and went into another group called A Perfect Circle, which is also really good. But they only put out like 2 or 3 albums, and they weren't anywhere near as good as Tool. And Tool is still kicking. So that's my number 4 is Tool. And this is literally, you could get on my case for not giving you enough details of who they are and whatnot, but the fact is if you go and look them up, you're going to learn more by looking them up and listening to them. I'm introducing you to either bands you either heard and agree with me on, or you disagree with me on, or bands you've never heard and never been able to make a decision on. So that is what you're literally listening to and what you're going to have to engage. So just take it for what it is. And I may go on some rants here really soon because, okay, so my number 5 in hard rock is going to be Stone Sour. And the lead singer, his name is Corey Taylor. James Root was the lead guitarist for quite a long time. And these guys have come out with great music. They've come out with about 6 or 7 albums. And they, along with a bunch of EPs, which is our extended plays, those are basically albums that were not supposed to be albums. And they just were in the jam session. They were just going, and they decided to record what they were doing. And Stone Sour, the lead singer, Corey Taylor, this is his side project, which you could honestly even say is more of his main project, because his first original project, Slipknot, even though they're bigger in sales and everything, not as many albums, not as much in the touring, and definitely way lower key. But whenever Slipknot jumps on the scene, it ends up being a much bigger deal than normal. I want to say something about a particular band in hard rock that is not on my list, but I want to talk about it, is the band Nickelback. And the reason why is because we have an anomaly in hard rock that I have not seen of really any band, and I might be wrong about this or not, I'm not sure. But I've not known of a band that is so either hated or loved across the board. Like Nickelback is, you love them or you hate them. And I mean, most people who love metal music hate Nickelback. And most people that like rock music, they think it's edgy. And me, I'm kind of in between. I don't claim to be a fan of Nickelback. I like a couple of songs here and there off of some of their albums, but I am not like a hardcore Nickelback fan. My brother, David Johnson, he liked Nickelback. He owned all their albums at one point. My sister, Crystal, on the other hand, last time I brought up the idea of Nickelback to her, she said she didn't want to vomit today. So that's how my sister handles handles that. So, you know, so that's how that goes in the long run. Is and I think that it would seem to me more funny because I've been watching Vines and you know videos, and there's either hate for Nickelback or there's love for them. I don't have really love or hate for them. I just think they're there. They're a band. They're doing their thing. You don't like them, that's fine. If you like them, great. But I got a family that's torn in two when it comes to the band Nickelback. So that's my top 5 in hard rock. And you'll see why I had to call it hard rock, because there's lower key rock than that, and there's heavier duty rock than that. So I'm going to go to my worst category, which is going to be jazz. And I do like some jazz, and the reason why it's my worst is because I only have one thing for jazz, and that's because I've only listened to one artist, and that's Miles Davis, a trumpet player, and that's because I played trumpet, and I wanted to listen to somebody who played trumpet, and my music teacher told me Miles Davis was a great trumpet player, beautiful trumpet player. I loved his trumpet playing. The thing is I can't listen to trumpet playing all the time. Some people can, I can't. So, and typically I don't like jazz because it's confusing. Let's just put it that way. And that's what makes it its art form, is because it is kind of like that. And you can say after I name off the fact that I like metal music, what in the world are you talking about confusing? But it is its own art form. Being a little catastrophic in your music can be an art form. And some people can actually find the rhythm behind the madness, you know. So Miles Davis is my favorite. I don't have any tracks that I can remember. He's just the only one that popped up in my head, and I had to put jazz on here because I know jazz is liked by some people. So there's Miles Davis. So because that was only one, I'm going to give you my other hated genre, and that is going to be country. And anyone who knows me knows I hate country. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And it's kind of like my horror movie genre. I hate horror movies. Therefore, I hated the fact that I had to put them on there. Country, I'm putting it on here, and I hate the fact that I even could consider that some of these bands are my favorite bands. But I'm just going to say this right off the bat. My number one favorite country artist of all time was and will be Garth Brooks. And after he left the scene, there's not been a 1 ounce of good country. And don't give me that crap that country is good. I don't care. The only country artist that I even care about right now is Derek Austin. That's because he's a friend of mine. After that, y'all can kiss my ass when it comes to country. And you have your own opinion. I think country shouldn't exist other than Derek Austin's music. That's my personal opinion. You know. And I mean, I've only listened to his tracks, maybe one of his tracks once. Love you, Derek. I love you, but I'm just can't get down with country music. And just because I invited you to listen to my podcast, I'll go back and I'll listen to your tracks because I love you, man. And artists have to take care of other people as well. If I'm asking you to listen to my podcast, why not listen to your music? And I'll do that for you, Derek. But Garth Brooks is my number one. The Thunder Rolls, I Got Friends in Low Places. Gosh, there's a whole bunch of them that I can't remember the names of those singles anymore. That's how long ago I've listened to their music. But David and I, my brother David, we can sing I Got Friends in Low Places without even having the words in front of us. That's how much we know that. Number 2 is Rascal Flatts. I put that on here because, alright, I will confess, I have downloaded about 6 Rascal Flatts songs. I downloaded those back in 2010 or 11. I can't remember, but now I will swear to you, they are not on any of my playlists, but I liked a couple of their tracks. I purchased them. They are in my library. I do not listen to them on a regular or really ever, but they're there, and I have them. If I want to, I can listen to them. And that is the track. Some of the tracks I have is Life is a Highway, which is a remake. Just seemed a little bit more lively than the original. There's Take Me There. There's This Wish, or One Wish. I can't remember. This Wish for You. You know, whatever. So there's Rascal Flatts for you. That dude's voice, though, is amazing. That is the reason why I like it. That dude. See, here's the thing. I may not like your genres or different genres of music. I don't have pop music on here. I don't have pop music because I just don't like any. I can at least say like Garth Brooks or Rascal Flatts or Alan Jackson, artists. I mean, I guess I could put pop on here, but then it's all going to be a bunch of ladies because there's really not a whole lot of good male pop music that I even liked. But I really don't want to get into I don't like any of their music. I just don't have any singles. At least what I'm telling you is I have some singles for country music that I like. I have no music of Katy Perry's in my library. I have no singles by Taylor Swift that have really caught me off guard. I have no Adele tracks that make me want to sing. I've got no Lady Gaga shit that makes me want to go and put on a ridiculous liberal dress. I've got nothing from those pop artists. And you could say like George Michael, he had the song Faith and stuff. But I was never a fan of George Michael and whatever. But so back to the country. Number 3 is Alan Jackson. Cornbread and Chicken. That's a great one. Buy Me a Mercury and Cruise It Up and Down the Road. I hate to say it, 5 O'Clock Somewhere. There's some other ones, and I don't own any of his music, but most of his singles I've liked. Then there's the Judds. Number 4 is the Judds. And I have the Judds on here because my mom used to listen to them all the time. They were kind of catchy to listen to. They were sisters. Winona and shit, I can't remember what the hell her name was. 2 Judds. See, I have to even reach for the country. I gotta reach for the skies for country. My 5th one is Keith Urban, and I only like 1 or 2 tracks by Keith Urban. I can't remember the singles, but Keith Urban was a decent dude. I think he's from Australia. I think he's married to Nicole Kidman. Came here and stole Tom Cruise's wife. Anyway, whatever. That's all I got for country. Seriously, country blows now. I hate Kenny Chesney, Dierks Bentley, Blake Shelton did a horrible rendition of Footloose. So yeah, that's going to be that. My next one, I'm just going to go down all the rock versions. I'm going to start doing the rock ones. All right, I'm going with metal music, and I know that this is going to like take a whole bunch of people to really not engage or not like any of the picks here, but tough. Number one is Slipknot. 5 albums. Corey Taylor, the lead singer, also of Stone Sour, is the lead singer of Slipknot. This is a kick you in the ass, yell in your face. There's cussing. There is language barriers. There is all sorts of shit in Slipknot. This is for the angry side of your life. And I know a lot of people don't want to be angry. Everyone wants to be happy and playful and blah, 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 blah. But I hate to tell you this, but in my life at times, I have not been the let's go clap and let's go sing and let's go have a parade and let's go have fun and blah, blah, blah. You know, like, I don't want to be. Anger is a decent emotion. And for people who want to tell me that anger is bad and they want to throw out Bible verses at me about put off evil or put off anger, you got to remember that when it says be angry and sin not, that other one about putting off anger is about anger unto death with the desire to kill somebody. You even got a little bit of Bible knowledge here. So when it says be angry and sin not, I'm allowed to be angry. It doesn't mean I'm allowed to sin. So there you go. There's your biblical talk for the day. And so I would put that out there. And sometimes hard rock, metal music, rap music, even pop music, even some of that country music, all music has got all these emotions in it. It's just the way that it's portrayed. You don't like metal music because people have tattoos and have piercings and they wear different pants and shirts and they look a little weird, a little darker than what you like. But the biggest lie that the devil ever told was that he didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't even know how that ties in. I'm just saying that. But the fact is you'd never judge a book by its cover. You know, some rock and metal guys are some of the nicest people you ever meet. I've listened to podcasts so far, and the rock group, they're some of the coolest guys you'll ever hear being interviewed. But when so I wouldn't just, oh yeah, and also metal guys, you may even say that's not even music. I don't even know how they even got a gig. A lot of metal guys learn classical with their guitars before they ever start pounding those chords for the metal music. So give it I'm not going to say if you don't like it, that's fine. But I would say before you just throw it under the bus, it's not as bad as you think. And a lot of genres out there that are claiming to be wholesome and everything aren't so wholesome. So don't fall for that bullshit either. So Slipknot is my favorite. My very favorite song by Slipknot is Sulfur. In Sulfur, the reason why it's my favorite song is it has the phrase, "You don't always know where you stand till you know that you will not run away." And I've thought about that ever since I heard it for the first time back in 2008. The other phrase that they have in that song is, "I'm not a failure, but I know what it's like." In other words, we all know what it's like to fail, but what he's saying is, I'm not a failure. And that is a good mindset, because you're going to fail, but it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It means that you're still, Keith or Becky or Grace or whoever you are that person. You're not a failure. You're not a fuck up. You're not a screw up. That's just, you're who you are, and you're going to succeed and you're going to fail. And that's what he's saying in there, and that's why I love that particular song in there. My next song is going to be Custer. And then after that is going to be Wait and Bleed. I'm not even going to get into those ones for you. You're just going to have to listen to that. And you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. If you can't even take it, I get it. Just don't throw me under the bus because you don't like it. Okay. All right. Number 2, a band that's known all over the world, Metallica. I used to own every one of their albums. Metallica is one of the greatest metal bands in history. They are part of the big 4 thrash metal bands of the 80s, which consisted of Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, and Anthrax. Metallica has put out, I think, 9 albums, and recently in the last couple of albums really got back to heavier riffs with the guitar solos and getting back to their old style. They have the only doors that have really revolved for these guys as far as band members has actually been the bassists. Their first bassist, Cliff Burton, was killed in a bus accident when they were on tour. The bus had flipped over, and the only one that didn't survive was Cliff Burton, their bassist. And they had Jason Newsted. Now they've got Robert Trujillo is his name, and they're still kicking it. They just came out with an album this month, their 9th album. And favorite tracks by them would be King Nothing, would be Seek and Destroy, Master of Puppets. I think if anyone said they didn't like Enter Sandman, that would be weird. But I liked Enter Sandman. And their cover of Turn the Page by Bob Seger was pretty cool. So that's Metallica. Number 3, Bullet for My Valentine. That was just a name that they came up with to sound edgy, just so everyone knows out there. So I know it sounds really weird. I mean, there's bands in the metal scene that are like, they're crazy, the names of some of these bands. Anyway, Bullet for My Valentine, or BFMV. My 3rd favorite metal group, and that's because I virtually can listen to each one of their albums, track 1 to the very end. And really like Bullet for My Valentine. Matt Tuck, the lead singer, they're from Wales. And my favorite tracks, Tears Don't Fall, POW, and gosh, I'm going to have to go with Army of Noise off of Venom. Their latest album, Venom, was really, really good, really kick-ass, really, really pumping. Number 4 is going to be Korn. That's K-O, backwards, capital R, and lowercase n. And I know that seems really weird. Like I said, it's capital K, lowercase o, capital R, backwards, so the R is turned towards the K, with a lowercase n. And group of guys that have had a really rough time, and I like most of their music. It's pretty good. I'm going to let you figure that out, what you like about them. I like Follow the Leader. As far as I got the Life, Freak on a Leash. I think it's called... Gosh, I leave you guys all these spaces when I'm talking here. I'm trying to remember some of the names of some of these, It's some of these songs, some of these bands I haven't been listening to right away right now, as I've been listening to newer stuff. But that's fine. Number 5, Alice in Chains. And I don't listen to them as much anymore because Lane Staley died in 2001, and Lane Staley was the lead singer. but they got started in like 1987. And Alice in Chains is just widely known. I mean, Godsmack is like a spin. The band Godsmack is a spin off of one of their songs, and so I mean, Rooster is one of my favorite songs from them. I think it's Them Bones is another one. Wood and Angry Chair, Man in the Box. These are all great tracks from these guys. So that is my top 5 in metal, and I bet you're all like, "Yay! We got out of metal. We got done with the metal groups. Okay, cool beans. Woo!" All right. So now I'm going to give you classical, and that's because I do like some classical from time to time. And I'm going to run down through these because I don't know names of their music or their tracks, but Beethoven. I like Beethoven, and Beethoven was the one who got me to want to play piano when I listened to Beethoven's music, and I can't remember what the track is called, but it's like dun, 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 dun. I can't even do it properly. But Beethoven, I wanted to play piano. I've got nerve damage in my left hand, and if I were to play piano, I'd have to play it one-handed, and it wouldn't sound as good. But I never had wanted to play piano until Beethoven, until I heard that. Then there's Mozart. I was introduced to Mozart by the movie Amadeus, and I was a little freaked out by that movie. So I never really got into Mozart, but when I started listening to Mozart, it's actually pretty kicking. So I like that. Bach was pretty good. And then Handel, I have to thank Jonathan Norell and Chuck Norell for Handel's Messiah, and getting into that and listening to Handel's Messiah. Pretty good stuff. I had to run through that list because I got no tracks. I got no reasoning, I just had a time period where I really liked classical, and those were the 4 things that I listened to, and it was all pretty good. All right. So next I'm going to go into just my regular rock category. And so I'm going to go with number 1 is Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl is the lead singer, was the drummer for Nirvana, Kurt Cobain's band, who really started the grunge rock movement, which you could say Alice in Chains came from, Soundgarden, Temple of the Dog, Audioslave. A lot of bands could qualify as being a part of the grunge movement, where they weren't really metal, but they were heavier than rock, and they weren't punk, because punk has a particular style as well. Punk is usually like a fast-paced, catchy, with funny anecdotes and or politically charged. That can be, punk is kind of that way, anti-establishment kind of scenario. But Foo Fighters is kind of a grunge band as well. They kind of just took off after Nirvana, and Dave Grohl and his band had more of an understanding of musical things. Nirvana had Kurt Cobain, which was just like crackly all over the place, and then you have Foo Fighters with Dave Grohl, which is way better. There Goes My Hero, The Pretender, Monkey Wrench. Those are all good songs from the Foo Fighters. So they're my number 1 in rock. My number 2 is Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I know my mom is going to probably have my head for this. Stevie Ray Vaughan, she would probably believe in my lists in rock, and everything should have been way higher. And I kind of agree with her, but these guys, all these other guys, are continually coming out with music. Stevie Ray Vaughan was great at his time, and he was amazing, and people still try to play his music, but, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, all throughout the 80s and the early 90s was huge until his helicopter crashed. My favorite tracks by him would be Pride and Joy, Lil Wing, and Love Struck Baby, Couldn't Stand the Weather. Um, Even his cover of Superstition by um, Stevie Wonder was really good. Number 3, I'm going to say Helmet, even though Helmet would probably be classified as a grunge group. It sounds a little too light and kind of in the Black Keys category, even though I don't like the Black Keys. And I'm just going to tell you one song, Unsung. Helmet's song, Unsung, is all I know and like them. Number 4 is Lit, L-I-T. They were really big late 90s, early 2000s. Kind of fell off, but they're still around. My Own Worst Enemy is a catchy, funny song. Kind of really like it. Number 5 is Queens of the Stone Age. Queens of the Stone Age, I only have one track by them. They're a little weird and a little kooky, but I really like that track. Little Sister is what it's called. You know, some of these bands, don't blame me if you start liking them and then you go down roads that you don't necessarily like when it comes to music. That's not my fault. You have the availability to press buttons and stop things and not listen to whatever you don't want to. So remember, whenever you go through and you start listening to stuff and you engage things, it's your mind, it's your body, it's your understanding. You click yes, you click play, you click stop, you click pause. That's your availability. You analyze lyrics, you listen to beats and listen to riffs, and that is on you. That is not on me. I'm doing a podcast. I'm putting it out there. If you don't want to handle it, then don't. You know. So just wanted to put that out there for you. So then I'm going to go to punk, because I'm already on rock, so I might as well just finish with the rock categories. So punk music, punk rock. And punk rock is, there's so many different versions of rock and metal and blah, blah, blah. And punk music is number 1 I've got it here is Sum 41. Now, like I was telling you, what punk music is different from regular rock and metal music is like Metallica's, a song by Metallica could be like 8 to 10 minutes long because the guitar riffs and solos and different things like that. Punk's band music is like short, consistent, and to the point. And like I said, they have funny things in there, but they'll be shorter. And they were the ones that came around and started bringing in the 2 to 3 minute songs. When back in the 80s, you know, the Ramones were a huge punk band, Social Distortion, the Sex Pistols, there's a couple of other bands that I may not be mentioning, the Vandals, there's a whole bunch of, but they kind of brought in like the 2 to 3 minute tracks and would really get their message in, play really fast and really quick and hit you with that. You know, with that sound. Sum 41 is my first, a Canadian band. And they were a 4-piece, turned into a 3-piece. And Into Deep, Fat Lip, Walking Disaster, Still Waiting, Pieces. These are all really good songs. They have quite a number of them out there. So that's a pretty cool band. Number 2 is going to be Blink 182. They just came out with a new album recently, which was amazing and great. They did a new song. They were really known for at one point, kind of like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is not on my list. But they ran through a whole music video naked at one point and played, and their instruments literally covered up their naked body parts. And this last time they did the change up, instead of them running through, which was 3 guys, they had 3 ladies running through that were naked, and they had the 3 ladies playing their instruments and singing their music. So it was the male voices dubbed over the ladies standing, you know, it was pretty funny. So all the little things, I Miss You, What's My Age Again, The Rock Show, and I would have to actually get some more of their music on hand in order to know if there was more on there, but most of everything I hear by Blink 182 I like. And another two bands so far. A lot of these bands, my brother David and I, we are like, we're like two peas in a pod and akin with on here. Seven Dust, Breaking Benjamin, Slipknot, Metallica, Bullet for My Valentine, Stained, Stone Sour, Foo Fighters, C. Ray Vaughan, Lit, Sum 41, Blink 182, Garth Brooks. We like all these bands and artists. And here's another one that he likes that I like, Bowling for Soup. Bowling for Soup, they're funny, they're hilarious. They did a song called 1985. They did a cover of Ran So Far Away, Almost, I think the song is called, Almost. And they were just really funny. That's what they tried to be, was just funnier music. The lead singer's voice is very unique and great. So go look them up. Number 4. Sheesh. I think I should have put them higher on the list for some reason. Yeah, I even have a couple arrows here moving Bowling for Soup down to number 4 and them up to number 3. Rise Against is actually my 3rd. Bowling for Soup is my 4th. Rise Against, a very politically charged punk band. And I would call it punk because it's really fast-paced. It's really good. Savior, Prayer for the Refugee, Drones. They do the song Anything You Want It, That's the Way You Need It, Anything You Want It by Journey. They do a cover of that. Help Is on the Way, Architects. Yeah, and they've come out with a couple of more albums since then, since the last time I was really into listening to them, but really good. They're a bunch of vegans. They don't wear or eat anything that's made of an animal. And they actually cite, in their album covers, they cite books that they read to come up with the lyrics. So they read things and they study and they consider, and then they produce lyrics and they come out with their music. So Jesse, if you wanted a band that's very intellectually charged, Rise Against is one of those. Number 5 is Green Day. And now I have them on here because they're a favorite of mine. But I've really lost favor with these guys on many different issues. But these guys are way too politically challenged, way too liberal. And it's their job to square up against the establishment because they're supposed to be a punk band. But they've literally, in my mind, have lost track from a lot of what they started off. They started off with Kerplunk, the album Kerplunk. Then they went to an album they called Dookie. Then an album they called Insomniac, which Insomniac is the best one. Stewart and the Avenue, Brain Stew. There's a couple other tracks. But on Dookie, they had Basket Case. They had Welcome to Paradise. There's a whole bunch of singles that comes with Green Day. And I used to say I was a really major Green Day fan. But when it comes to the punk genre, I am. When it comes to overall music, I don't own any of their music. I might at some point, but it's not in my top list of music to purchase or to listen to. And they've really recently just shown their colors that they're kind of like a bunch of pussies, honestly. Bunch of wusses in my mind. I mean, they've been through enough. They have the right to say whatever they want to say, and everyone does. We have a freedom of speech, but it just feels like they've kind of taken the media's route, and maybe they're not. Maybe they don't see it that way. That's perfectly fine, but I just don't agree necessarily with them and all of their music being based, This is what I feel like. If you're going to go political with people and you're going to, if you want to put through a message, like Prayer of the Refugee by Rise Against is about child labor and hunger and things of that nature. If you want to put the issues in your music, by all means, put the issues in your music. But don't make a whole concert about your personal politics, because you may have some people out there that don't agree with your politics but are there to listen to you, and then you just tick them all off, and like I said, we have freedom of speech, but it's like, if you're there to do a job, do the damn job. And then when you're asked in interviews who you support and this and that, go ahead and say what you want to in your interviews. Because to me, like, I will listen to Green Day for a long time to come. But I don't need to listen or see clips from a concert that I may have wanted to be at, and they're screaming up there, don't support Trump, don't support this and that, don't support the KKK, and blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I don't support the KKK. But I voted for Donald Trump. And I don't think he, and I'll be the first one to say it, I voted for him, but if he fucks up, I'll call it. I believe that he was a better candidate than Hillary. I believed he was a better candidate than Gary Johnson. And if we find out that he was worse than that, I'm not going to apologize for my voting for him, because our state, according to the Electoral College, was for Hillary anyway. So I'm not going to apologize for that. But I don't necessarily need to hear someone tell me that they hate Donald Trump day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? If Hillary would have won, I would have been like, okay, cool, Hillary won, whatever. Anyway, so that's Green Day is number 5. Like I said, this is the Rant podcast. Rant podcast. I'm just going on and going off on stuff. Gave you a little bit of dose of Nickelback back there. I gave you a little bit of dose of this. I'm giving you a dose of everything. So we're going to get into hip-hop music, and I'm going to go with rap, and I'm going to do solo, because there's rap music that's solo, and then there's rap music that's with like a group or a gang mentality or a duo. So rap solo, I'm just going to come out with it. My number one favorite is Eminem. And I know he's a white guy and I'm white and blah, 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 but Eminem's lyrical ability is really good. And is he dark? Yes, he's dark when it comes to rap. He's not as dark as some things. Believe me, there are rappers that are darker than Eminem. But Eminem's put out like 8. He's about to put out a 9th album. I think he has 2 collaboration albums. And everything that man touches, as far as an album goes, it goes platinum. And just so you're aware, like platinum, this is what you get when it comes to record sales. Is gold is 500,000. So when you sell 500,000 on an album or a single, it goes gold. When you sell 1 million, you go platinum. And for every 1 million after that, you go that many times platinum. When you reach 10 million, you reach diamond. So, and Eminem is the only one in the hip-hop industry to ever have 2 diamond records. His second and his third album went diamond. That means in North America alone, he sold over 10 million records of those 2 albums. And the rest of his albums, all of his albums, have reached into the platinums and multi-platinums. I don't think he has one record, even one of his collaborations, that is under $1 million sold, or 1 million units sold. And so he's doing amazing when it comes to records. So, in Eminem, my favorite tracks by him are Bad Guy, I would say Till I Collapse. Everyone knows Lose Yourself, but it's not one of my favorites. I think it's been just overplayed so many times. Let me think here. I liked Not Afraid. I like 25 to Life. I like Toy Soldiers, Mockingbird, When I'm Gone. There's many others. I used to own all of his music as well. So that's Eminem. Number 2 is Nas. And Nas has been around since I think the late 80s, early 90s. I have a couple of his albums. Really great lyricist. And this is one thing that I like. I like lyricists. Same for like, and he's from New York. I think he's from Queens. It is written, I think, yeah, I think It Is Written is a track that I like. I like New York State of Mind. Um, yeah, I like a couple of his tracks. Royce da 5'9" is number 3. Another Detroit rapper that came up along Eminem. Tabernacle is a really great track. He's great in Slaughterhouse as well. I would say What's Beef is another track that I like. Number 4 is KRS-One. Now this is an old school artist. The Bridge Is Over and South Bronx are pretty good ones. The Clack of the Police, I think, is what it's called. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them, and he does him, Nas, and Rakim got together with DJ Premier and did a song called Classic, which you can only find on YouTube to listen to it. And they're just old school lyricists, which means they don't rap super fast. They just rhyme. They're just poets from the streets that get on a beat and they just rhyme, and I love it. Rakim, number 5. Amazing lyricist. Huge. The way he described putting lyrics is like if you have a meter and you had a certain amount of syllables that you had to enter into that meter, he could figure out how to take every meter or every syllable, and so there was no loose space in that meter, so you didn't have any pauses or any cuts, which is really hard to do when you're a lyricist when it comes to rap. So that's my top 5 of rap solos. Rap duos or rap groups. I've got number 1 is EPMD, that stands for Eric and Parrish Making Dollars. And they're just a good solid group on Def Jam Records. They were around during the time of LL Cool J. They're around the time of the Beastie Boys and Run DMC. So they were coming up around that time. I love their songs. You Got to Chill, Run Your Jewels, Riptide, I think is what it's called. Another track called Riptide. I like all of their Jane tracks. They have like Jane, the first album had Jane, second one had Jane 2, third was Jane 3, 4, 5, 6. They all had, and then Symphony 2000 with Redman and Method Man and Lady Luck. Really good track. I love duos because they can just duck and weave in and out, and they can play off of one another's lyrics. And if you're really good and you've been around, it's really a good track. Bad Meets Evil is the duo of Eminem and Royce da 5'9", who I've already talked about. When they come together, they've been in the industry for so long, since like 96, 97, that they have literally learned how to rap so well with one another. They can just bounce off of one another's stuff. Number 3, Cess Crew. That is CESCRU. That is Cess Crew. And their names are Godimus and Ubiquitous. And it's a black guy and a white guy duo. Amazing duo. Great music off of the Strange Music label. Click Clack Bang, When Worlds Collide, Seven Chakras. Peter Parker. These are all these different tracks. Strange Music has been known to have like speed rappers and choppers is what they call them, where they just go like. These guys are more of an old school style. That's why I like them. I like old school rap when you can just rhyme and not sound like a fucking speed bag being hit by a boxer. Number 4 is Onyx. Onyx, the only track I really like by them is Slam. There's a couple other ones that I've listened to, but as far as a group, really like Onyx's sound. A little crazy sounding, but I like them. Number 5 is Wu-Tang Clan, which they should probably be number 4, because Wu-Tang has got a rapper in it named Method Man. They've got Raekwon. They had Old Dirty Bastard. They had Ghostface Killah. Shoosh. They had like a whole slew of solo artists that all came together for Wu-Tang Clan. It was like a hip-hop supergroup of rappers. And it had that great New York boom bap sound. And New York's East Coast style rap music was more of a older, jazzier time. West Coast rap was more of a like a funk 70s kind of. That's just so you're aware, like all the beats that these guys use. Some people come up now. A lot of it is techno music, but back in the day, they would have to sample tracks and they'd have to bass beats and work beats off of turntables and stuff, and they had to use old albums. And when they would sample the music, East Coast used a lot of old school, funk and jazz, and a lot of West Coast stuff. When you had Dre coming up and a lot of these guys, they were using a lot of disco and a lot of funk, and so they were using a lot of that, and then they would add in the bass and the beat and everything. So that's where that comes from. When you hear even the stuff that I play at the beginning, that I tend to like more of an East Coast style rap. Rap solo, I could even put in there, as far as my solos, is Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. It's been used so many times, but the top 4 rappers that there's a top 5 of rappers that is greatly, messed with, and is the top 5 for most people that they argue on who's the best is going to be Notorious B.I.G., Tupac Shakur, Nas, Eminem, and Jay-Z. They're going to tell you that one of those 5 is the greatest, or all of those guys were the greatest, whatever. It's just going to get like that. Notorious B.I.G. is when I started liking rap. Tupac, I kind of like rap, but he was way too street life for me. Notorious, I'm kind of a bigger guy. I'm a large guy, and when I should see Notorious B.I.G., he was kind of a larger, fatter person, and he had all these women. He had the nice suit, he had the cane, and everybody was dancing around him, and he was just a smooth talker, and I could understand what he was saying, and I fell in love with it. So that's why I like writing rhymes and poetry and stuff today, is because of that. My last category is going to be R&B, rhythm and blues, which I'm going to go with. Number 1 is Boyz II Men, ABC, BBD. Yeah, Motown Philly. I'm going to go with them. Love Motown Philly is my favorite track. There is no one better as far as a male vocal group, as far as power ballads, as far as getting you going on the dance floor, getting you to slow dance with your girl or your man. Have one of the best songs as far as saying goodbye to somebody in your life. Say Goodbye to Yesterday. Saying Goodbye to Yesterday, I think, is the name of the track. Bended Knee is another track from them. Great. Number 2 is going to be the group Guy, G-U-Y, Guy. Love them because they got a song that I just recently heard that I've been trying to learn to play karaoke to, which is called Let's Chill. And I'm not talking about the new age version about let's Netflix and chill. I'm talking about let's chill like back in the 90s, where you just love one another, you'd cuddle and you'd hug with one another, and you just hold your loved one close, and it was just a great track. And so I like Guy. Number 3 is Mariah Carey. Back in the day, the vocals on that woman were insane. They're crazy, loud, heavy duty. Love that about her. Usher. Number 4, or Ursher, as Ludacris would say in one of their tracks. Hey Yeah, no, not Hey Yeah. Yeah, I think is the name of the track. YEAH. Yeah. Um, oh gosh. Confessions. A couple of different albums on Confessions. He's just a great vocalist. He's a great dancer. Learned from like Michael Jackson. Learned from James Brown how to dance. And he just has the natural ability of dancing and singing. And that's why I like him. Number 5, Mary J. Blige. Always has real talk in her music, and she advocates for people on the street and wanting to make sure that people are cared for and taken care of. So I really like Mary J. Blige. I think she's a really good candidate on this list. And so that's going to be my list of what I mean. And then at the end here, like the music that I'm listening to currently, like what I like to listen to is, I'll just name some bands off, and you do with it what you will. But like I listen to Machine Gun Kelly. He's a rapper. I listen to Crossfade, Trapped, Taproot. Like I said, I got Sum 41. There's some My Chemical Romance. I know, don't get on my case if you're an emo kid. And they actually have some decent music. Not everybody is emotionally crippled every day of their life. Mudvayne. Now, I'll just say this. Mudvayne may not want to check on if you don't like them. I Prevail, Seasons After, Red, R-E-D. It's a Christian rock group, but like a Christian hard rock group. And I will say that there are some of those hard rock and metal bands that I've listed. There is screaming in it, but it's not throughout the whole entire song. Like, they'll be screaming when it comes to points. Like, I could have listed off Linkin Park, but Linkin Park, I only like 2 of their albums and then certain singles after that, so I didn't put Linkin Park on here. Yawning late at night here as I'm doing this. Wow, actually at an hour and 8 minutes, hour and 9 minutes here. Definitely going to get track 3 and probably 3 and 4 hidden today, if not 3, 4, and 5 hidden today. So that'll be interesting. Just so you're aware, what SoundCloud is doing is I'm going to post the link when I upload this track. I'm going to post the link onto my Facebook page, and you'll be able to find the track from my Facebook page. But if you were to go onto my SoundCloud page, you may not be able to find certain tracks because literally until I pay money, they're going to hide the tracks, and it's going to be hard for people to view and to listen to what I have there. Just so you're aware, I just wanted you to know. Anyway, so yeah, I'm listening to some different things. Like I said, I finally got this equipment running. Gosh, it's amazing I got this equipment running. It sounds like I got a better mic. I'm going to have to listen to this playback, but I think I got a great mic here, which will be really, really good. I got a little soundboard mixer. I got a little sound card, USB sound card that I've got playing with here. And finally got it to work with my audio software. And like I said, I got the fade out thing going on in the front of this podcast with some music. And I'm going to try and put some music in on the front at least. And if I do some more podcasts, I may try and find, when I have clips and stuff, I may try to find it so I can put it in there. Hopefully next time I do this, I will have a book read or listen to, and I'll give you an update about how Thanksgiving went and maybe do a book review for you of the book Extreme Ownership. Extreme Ownership has literally begun to change my life in different categories. And you may say, if you read the Bible, that should be enough. And it should be, but sometimes you need things explained to you in different ways in order to get it, if that makes sense. And there's nothing in Extreme Ownership, the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, that would limit somebody from what the Word of God has to say. And I have a feeling that these two men are actually Christian as well. But no matter what, I'm not going to push my politics. I'm not or my religious beliefs or who I worship on you. Obviously, you have a freedom of choice to do whatever you want to do. But I'm Christian, so obviously, with me being Christian, people are going to give me an earful about how do you live your life this way or that way, whatever. But Extreme Ownership is the book that I want to engage and do a review on for you. Actually have like highlighted pages, read from certain things, and just give you guys a good dose of that. Like I said, I need to get a time here where I can get Luke Franzak in. I don't know if he'll be this week because I know he's working, and then I know he's got something going on about 6 or 7 hours away from where I live. So I don't know if I'm going to get him in this week. Might get him in the week after, and we might talk top fives of his, and he might talk about my top fives of different things, and just spar one with another. So, and then after that, now that I got this equipment rolling here, I might try and get a Skype, the Skype account thing going, and maybe I can see if I can get Brent Henry or if I can get my mom on board and see if I can't get the audio and everything working. I'm kind of like being a self-taught individual right now when it comes to this audio stuff. So I know it's been an hour and 15 for some reason. That seems to be, maybe it's a little difficult for some people. But yeah, thank you very much for listening to the Rant Pod podcast. This is number 5. And thank you for subscribing. And I will keep you updated as we go further and further down the rabbit hole, so to speak. Maybe not the rabbit hole. It sounds like it's going to get really bad. As the journey progresses, I will keep you updated with where different platforms are for this or how this is all going to function. So until then, I will see you down the road. Thank you and goodbye.